Next, we are going to have another Microsoft, this time about Microsoft Experience Innovation from Anne Paradiso.
Hi, I'm Anne Paradiso, Research Designer in the Enable Group at Microsoft Research. Today I'm going to talk about two of the projects that our team has been working on with members of the ALS community. Before we dig in, I'll give you a quick overview of the Enable Group. The group was founded in 2015 with the mission of creating technology innovations that empower and improve quality of life of people living with disabilities. We design and test our ideas in close collaboration with members of our user community and partners so we can better understand the impact of new technologies on users' lives. We have primary projects around eye control and multimodal inputs for people living with speech and mobility disability, and sound-based user interfaces for people living with vision impairment. The first project I'm going to show you today is a collection of Eyes First games that our team released last year on the Windows Store. So what are Eyes First games? Eyes First games are simple, popular games reinvented for what we call an Eyes First experience, which means that we've optimized them to work well with eye trackers and with eye gaze as a primary input method. The games are built on top of the Windows 10 eye tracking APIs and can be used with or without Windows 10 eye control. And the primary purpose of the Eyes First games is to introduce the basic skill of eye tracking to users. This is similar to the approach Microsoft took in 1990 when they shipped Solitaire along with Windows, so that users could have a fun way to get used to basic mouse patterns like clicking and dragging and dropping and things of that nature. I'm going to show you a video of Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft, and one of our partners and collaborators, Bernice Yu. And they're going to discuss how the Eyes First games work and give you a little demo and overview of the games and how to get them.
Hi, I'm here with Bernice from our worldwide commercial business to talk about iFirst Gaming. Bernice, welcome.
Hi, Satya.
iFirst Gaming is for anyone with disabilities surrounding speech and mobility, and so they can just use their eyes to play games and many other things. Bernice, you want to show us what iFirst Gaming looks like?
Yeah, so these are really cool games I'm excited to show you today. The games are powered by Windows 10 eye tracking APIs for people to play with only their eyes. And then, as you said, eye tracking is especially important for people with speech and mobility disabilities. So we designed the games, want to provide the people a fun and easy way to play. So let me show you how the game is done. There are 4 games. My favorite one is Maze. I have Maze up here. So I just look at where I want the puppy to go.
That's pretty awesome. So it's just basically just your
cool.
gaze that's driving that.
I'm moving nothing else. And now we have a very happy puppy home.
Well done.
Cool, right?
Yes, congratulations.
So cool. And I just showed a very simple one, but with each of the game, we can up the level of complexity to make it more engaging and fun. So here. So I just make it harder.
Yeah.
But if you complete this level, you can even customize to make it 50 rolls if you like. So definitely up the challenge.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then what else can one do with eye gaze?
Eye gaze is such important assistive technologies, and if people master the skill of eye tracking, they can use that for work, collaboration, communication. There's a range of assistive technologies out there.
Fantastic. Is there anything more you want to show us?
Yeah, so I want to show that the games are eyes first, not eyes only.
That's right.
So that means people can play using mouse and touch too, so family and friends can enjoy the same experience and play as well. And the games are helping people not to just learn eye gaze, but also have fun experience. We got feedback actually from people playing and share with us how much they missed the playing. Yeah.
Wonderful. And how do we get started?
Yeah, so to get started, we need a Windows 10 PC and compatible eye trackers, such as the one I have here. And the games are available in Microsoft Store for Windows for download free. And they are available in 200 markets more. So check out Microsoft Store and search for Ice First.
Thank you, Bertie.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Satya.
There are many potential benefits that Eyes First games could have for patients living with motor neuron disease or other conditions that result in loss of speech or mobility. I think one of the primary benefits is just earlier access to basic eye tracking technology so users can practice. Eye tracking competency, like any new skill, requires practice and repetition, and it's much easier to acquire that skill before somebody needs to rely on it to communicate. Because the Eyes First games were designed to support multiple inputs and combination inputs, users can swap between inputs depending on physical needs, environmental context, or device constraints. Another potential use for the Eyes First games is to use them as a baseline to compare new inputs. So one might want to compare, say, a head mouse and an eye tracker and see how they stack up in terms of speed, accuracy, and fatigue. There are a number of ways that the games can be leveraged in a clinical environment, particularly for speech-language pathologists, assistive technology professionals, or recreational rehab therapists who are evaluating users for eye gaze suitability potentially for the first time. We've had the benefit and privilege of collaborating with some truly outstanding clinical professionals who have helped us to understand the challenges and complexities that they face in their respective clinical practices. We do not believe that the Eyes First games and applications are in any way going to solve some of those problems. But we do think that we might be able to be a useful tool in a clinical toolkit. We're continuing to grow the Eyes First ecosystem by releasing our work into the open source and continuing our collaboration with our user community and our partners. We also mentor student developers and interns who leverage our platform and our experience to create and ship their own Eyes First games and apps or conduct their own research investigations. And finally, I'll give you a quick overview of what we've been up to in the area of creativity and expression. As you well know, many people living with severe speech and mobility loss spend a disproportionate amount of time inside. They often report feelings of isolation, limited self-expression, and reduced quality of life. The creation of art, literature, and music has been shown across educational, clinical, and therapeutic contexts to support growth in self-esteem, confidence, and cognition, resulting in improved quality of life. For many of us, engaging in creative or artistic pursuits is natural, it's not unusual, and it's easily accessible. Yet little work has been conducted to design expressive technologies for people with limited or no motor ability, where technology and creative expression are inseparable and are complicated by extreme constraints. One project that is particularly near and dear to my heart is our Hands-Free Music project. This has been an ongoing collaboration over a number of years with members of multiple disability communities, musicians, technologists, and a host of inspired and motivated partners and collaborators. I'm running low on time in the presentation, so I don't have time to go into each project in depth, but I'll show you a series of videos that might give you an overview of the evolution of the work over the last couple of years and where we are today.
We are Dangerfield newbie.
That was day. my world was turned upside down. That was when I was diagnosed with ALS. Obviously a lot of negatives here, but it's been very interesting to see some amazing things occur in the aftermath.
I will use more cowbell.
My name is Willie Payne. I'm a music technologist and intern at Microsoft Research in the Next Enable group. I build musical instruments that lower barriers for people to express themselves and make music. This summer, I was tasked with developing a tool for people with severe motor impairments to improvise and perform using eye gaze as the only input method. So let me show you how it works. The Cyclops has three main screens: instrument, sequence, and audio effects. The instrument page is the primary page for producing sounds. The tiny red dot is where the eye tracker detects my eye gaze. When I stare long enough at a button on the screen, it will cause it to press, playing a sound. The grid of numbers has a very particular arrangement. First, I'm going to set it to the diatonic scale. When I move from left to right, I'll play the steps in the C major scale. When I move from the bottom to the top, I'll play the notes of the chords in the key of C major. And when I move diagonally, I play even larger intervals. Switching to the pentatonic scale results in fewer, larger buttons that are easier to gaze at. Changing the dwell speed can reduce the amount of time necessary to trigger a button, but can also make it easier to accidentally hit buttons. All notes that are played are automatically recorded into a sequence. When the play button is pressed, the app will start to loop the last 8 notes that I recorded. When the sequence is looping, any note that I hit will automatically overwrite the note at that sequence. The Sequence tab contains extra controls for playing with the loop. We can change the tempo to affect the speed of the music. We can add accents to increase the volume of individual notes, or rests to silence portions of the loop. We can even set the length of the rhythm pattern independently from the length of the number of pitches. On the effects page, we can fine-tune how our sound actually sounds. First, I'm going to add a distortion effect and increase the cutoff of a low-pass filter, which will make our sound crunchier. Then, I'll change the cutoff value of a low-pass filter. The Cyclops records our effects changes in real time, allowing us to play them back and change the effect while the sequence or other notes are playing. With just a few controls, the Cyclops is an expressive instrument capable of a wide range of sounds, all controlled and triggered just with your eyes.
As usual, I've run out of time, so I'm going to stop now so we can take questions. But I'd like to thank you for spending the time to listen to my presentation. And if you'd like to learn more about anything that I talked about today, you can find out more at the Microsoft Research Enable Group website, and the link is below here on the deck. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anne. I think we're all still just trying to wrap our heads around everything that you just showed. It's, again, it's certainly an exciting instrument for people to use if they're not able to go about their usual way of making music. And a lot of the questions are about collaborations. Are you collaborating with other groups? But again, a lot of people are just saying wow and amazing and things like that. So
awesome. Well, thanks. Am I supposed to, what should I do? Should I answer the,
you should answer.
I'm going on 2 hours of sleep. I'm a little fuzzy in the mind right now. Yeah, so
okay, so if you can rest for a minute, and I'll also let you know that, again, the group you're talking to, we have people, if you have things you want beta tested, if you things you want trial, this is the group to talk to. We have people who are, you know, very interested in trying these things out, and either whether they're people living with ALS MND or they're clinicians working with someone. So now you can.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So wow, this is such lovely feedback, and it looks like you all are kindred spirits with our group. We feel the same way as you all here about, you know, the importance of focusing on the things that really truly matter in life. Being able to participate with your loved ones, being able to communicate and express yourself creatively, and particularly around music. The reason that we took on the Hands-Free Music Project was when we first started meeting with PALS, which is what we call people living with ALS. I don't know if that's universal with all of our audience, but we started meeting with PALS and going to clinical rounds and learning more and more about the needs of the users and what all of the different people love to do and everything. Everybody had a relationship with music, whether it was making music. We had music teachers, instrumentalists, people who just enjoy, you know, playing music or singing in church. Some people just enjoy listening to other people play music. And so we thought, well, yeah, why shouldn't you be able to be creative? Why couldn't we reinvent the creative pathways and see what we might be able to come up with? And a lot of people thought that it wasn't going to happen. And we really enjoy that when somebody tells us that you can't do something. It's a great motivator to prove them wrong. So in terms of collaboration, in terms of collaborators, we've had the music project's been a small side project, and we've been growing it incrementally in the summer using our wonderful PhD intern program. You saw Willie Payne there, who's an absolutely brilliant music technologist who's at NYU, who came in and developed the Cyclops. And Willie, what was really great about it is Willie wanted to explore something with a lower barrier to entrance, but a very high ceiling of expressivity. And so he built this sort of complex, incredible instrument that can do all sorts of things. And other investigations have been simpler. Like we've been working with students who maybe have cerebral palsy and are trying to participate more meaningfully in their band class in middle school. So there are all sorts of different ways to approach music. And over the last several years, we've built, I think, about 6 different, I think, pretty solid working prototypes. And they've taken a lot of time just to be able to get us to be able to collaborate with our pals, especially our pals like Jeremy, who you saw in the video, who's one of our favorite creative collaborators. And it took us a while just to be able to launch some of these applications from his speech device because we didn't want him to take him out of that context so that he could use it to communicate. So we had to get some of these when we had to learn how to get these sorts of apps to open from, like, say, Tobii Communicator Screen. And then some of the older devices weren't beefy enough to support, say, what you saw Willie do. That takes a fair amount of processing and computing power to do. So we had to do a lot of problem solving with that in terms of just being able to get this in front of our collaborators so they could start to try it and give us feedback. We've been working with Jeremy on music for a few years now, and have had to take a small break in the last few months because of COVID, actually in the last 9 or 10 months because of COVID. So we've been able to communicate some of our advances to him via Zoom and things like that, but we're really looking forward to being able to start this work up again, get back in the lab and start making more instruments and more music.
That's fabulous. So is this available right now for people to try?
So it's not quite like the Eyes First games, which are packaged, tested, shipped on the Windows Store, and are going to work with a lower barrier to entry. These are things that we're incubating and that we're hoping eventually to release. Some of them will go into the open source and would probably need some assistance to get set up, but we would be more than happy to collaborate with folks who might want to try one of the different interfaces out. They're in different levels of doneness. We have a couple of things that are pretty baked that we've been working on for a while, and a couple of newer things that we're continuing to change all the time and that are a little bit flakier. So everything ultimately will go into the open source. We want people to build on our work. If anybody knows any other technologists or even students or developers or creatives who are looking for projects and want to start to look at what they might be able to do with this, that's also possible. We had a student group from the University of Washington who we mentored for their final capstone project, and they built a musical instrument called My Visual Piano, which is available right now on the Windows Store. And they built and shipped that within 2 semesters. So because we have APIs and different developer tools and some sample apps and some things like that, and because we keep on incrementally building on each other's work, we are getting to the point where we're getting closer and closer to having this more easily deployed.
Excellent. Now I am going to let some people have to go to break because of if they're doing this from work or whatever. So I'm going to let, if you need to go to break, please go ahead and go to break. And don't forget that there's the group networking that you can do. But if you would stay and answer some of the questions on the chat box, that would be very much appreciated.
Be happy to. And it looks like my friend Jay here is doing a great job jumping in on some of these other questions regarding the tracking devices and things like that. So the question that I'm going to take is that, is there a tracking device required to be bought to use games? So when we look at the investigations, the research investigations and incubating new experiences and prototypes, we think ultimately, and the goal is ultimately to have them be what we call technology agnostic. So theoretically, in a perfect world, they would work with various eye trackers that you could purchase now, or they would work with some of the great work that Jay and his team are working on around some future developments around using different methods of eye tracking. However, for right now, we've been using the Tobii 4Cs because they've been inexpensive and they support our HID standard. And HID, as Jay's mentioning in here, is a set of standards that we collaborate with technology partners on so that it reduces a little bit of the barrier to entry to using an eye tracker. The ultimate goal to those is that you would get any eye tracker. This is the dream. You could buy any eye tracker that's on the market, plug it in, and much like a mouse or a keyboard, it would just work. But you know, we're not quite there now. It sounds like the Tobii 4Cs aren't for sale right now, and Jay and his team have been working with Tobii to figure out what in the next generation of trackers, which trackers are going to support the HID and which ones aren't. But right now, if you have a 4C or a PCI Mini or anything like that, and you can go and get the gaming drivers from the Tobii website, you can, with some work and with some technical support, theoretically get one of these systems set up.
Okay, I think we are going to have to go to break. Are you able to type in the chat?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. It's probably better because I'm going on 2 hours of sleep and I'm kind of rambling a little bit.
All right, thank you so much.